Hi everybody, it's Steven. Today I want to talk about my Spider-Man animated series, vintage Toybiz figures, and some of the Spider-Man figures that came after that line was over. What you see in front of you, pretty much all of it, came from the 90s decade. So I divided again, as in the previous Toybiz video, I divided on the left here would be the bad guys, and then on the far right is Spider-Man and his allies. Now, I'm not really complete with the characters from the animated series, but I have one portion of them. Roughly about half, I guess. But that's all I have for now. So, let's go through some of these, and I'll do my best to remember all the names, because there is so many characters, and some of them are easy, because there is some particular versions of Spider-Man that it's all practically him, just in particularly different costumes. But anyway, let's get this show on the road. So what we have here, and this is one of the larger pieces, is Hobgoblin, who, as you can see, stands on a small glider, but then he's attached to a much larger glider. So either Hobgoblin or Green Goblin can fit on it. I don't have the Green Goblin, so I only have him. And what this large glider is missing is just the pumpkin bombs. One of them can be shot out of his mouth, so it has a mechanism that releases it right from the mouth there. So that pumpkin attachment is missing. Then what we have here is one of the strangest looking Venoms. He looks more like a rabbit alien from the Alien movies. I am not sure that he did appear like this in comics. Maybe he did. You guys could correct me on that. Next to him is the Spider Lizard, which is an amalgamation of Spider-Man and the Lizard from the smaller line called the Arachnophobia. It consisted of 3 figures of amalgamating Spider-Man with some of his enemies. Out of those 3, I have 2, so this is one of them. Then we have Projector Spider-Man, who has a projector feature in his chest. And then some of the monstrous versions of Spider-Man. There is one where he's mutated with a bat. And then another one where he's just a monstrous looking spider. And then another one here, who is called the Doppelganger. I do understand he appeared in the 90s comics, but I don't quite know for certain if this is Peter Parker or just another imitator of his from another dimension, perhaps. Then we have Blade the Vampire Hunter, who did appear in several episodes of Spider-Man animated series, fighting against Morbius the vampire. Then a futuristic version of Spider-Man, more of a cyborg type. Then from the multi-storyline of the animated series, where Spider-Man wears almost the same contraption like Dr. Octopus, so he has tentacles. Then over here to the front we have Doctor Strange, the 2 Spider-Woman. One is from the Iron Man series and another one is neither of them is really part of Spider-Man comics, but since they're both Spider-Woman, I kind of threw them right in there. And the Spider-Woman on the left in the red costume, she did come as a part of Spider-Man toy line. Behind her is the regular classic Spider-Man, Ben Reilly Spider-Man, who is a clone of Spider-Man, hence he has a slightly different costume. Then we have Ben Reilly in his human form and blonde hair. He intentionally wanted to be a different character when he realized that he's just a clone, so he cut his hair and dyed it and made himself look different so that no one can confuse him that he's just a clone of Peter Parker. Then we have Peter Parker from a box set with the camera. Then next to him, again Peter Parker, but wearing his Spider-Man suit. Another Spider-Man with the light-up feature for the eyes. The Daredevil, who came in the Spider-Man toy line. The very first version of Peter Parker, again with the camera accessory. This lady here would be the daughter of Peter Parker, who also assumed the same powers and almost the same costume as her father. And she's not part of Spider-Man animated series, but I put her there because obviously she has a relation to Peter Parker, and she comes from the first appearance toy line, which mostly covered some of the ladies and some of the known heroes the way they looked when they first appeared in comics. Then we have a couple of other versions of Spider-Man. And at the back here we have Negative Zone Spider-Man. For some reason he's quite known. I didn't manage to find enough information on him. And then the same figure except with the Peter Parker head, a more classic looking Peter Parker. And then two color variations of fully clothed Spider-Man. And the way he looks like he's based on Todd McFarlane's artwork. And then over here we have Nick Fury, who did appear in Spider-Man series. The Punisher, who also played a prominent part in the cartoon series. Two more versions of Ben Reilly Spider-Man. The one on the right in the red is the Scarlet. He's known as the Scarlet Spider. He didn't wear, I believe he did not wear that particular costume in the series, or maybe he did. Because he has two different ones. Now the character here, who is quite bulky in appearance, is called Spider-Side. I am not familiar with him except that he does seem to resemble Spider-Man. Then we have a symbiote costume Spider-Man, so completely in black. Now over here, the blonde girl we have, that's Gwen Stacy. One of the girlfriends of Peter Parker, and in the comics at least, she was murdered by Green Goblin in a sort of a final showdown with Spider-Man. And she was not part of the toy line. She was released as an exclusive, previous exclusive from back in the day, as a single carded figure, and there was also a Spider-Man fully clothed also on another. Over here we have Spider-Sense Peter Parker. Then we have Silver Sable and Black Cat, who are crowding around Madame Web, sitting in her very elaborate looking chair. Black Cat was in the animated series, so was Madame Web. But Silver Sable was not, but she was released as a part of the toy line. And over here we have mutated Spider-Man when he was infected with a sort of a mutation gene that practically transformed him into a life-size walking spider. And Kraven the Hunter and a couple of other characters were trying to capture him and also use him for their means, or even in the end they were practically trying to just cure him. The X-Men were involved in the series as well at one point regarding this, because the Spider-Man turned to them for help to see if Professor X can find a cure. And then that would be as far as the Spider-Man and his allies go. Now let's move on to the bad guys. I already mentioned the Hobgoblin and the alien-looking Venom. Now over here we have one of the insectoid enemies of Spider-Man, and this particular lady's name escapes my mind. I don't remember that she was part of insect-themed enemies of Spider-Man. She has the detachable wings, and she had some accessories. Over here we have the Green Beetle, who is again one of the older enemies of Spider-Man, not as known as some of the other ones. Then we have Stegron, which I didn't even realize that he would be enemy of Spider-Man until I did some research. Then Dr. Octopus in his classic look from the animated series. Then we have Rhino and J. Jonah Jameson, who in a way is not your typical villain. He just immensely dislikes Spider-Man for his personal reasons. And this is how he looked in one of the lines that came after the animated series. Then we have Carnage, without the mask. And then we have, I believe this fellow's name is Tarantula. And then we have Carnage, but this time the first version that was released. Now we have Spider Carnage, who did show up in as one of the main villains near the end of the Spider-Man series. I believe it was part of the Spider-Man clone storyline. And then we have Eddie Brock as Venom without unmasked. The Lizard. Jack-o'-lantern. J. Jonah Jameson's working desk that can transform into a very nasty looking robotic spider that has a laser attached on top. Then we have the Hydra Man. Over there we have the classic Scorpion. Younger looking Vulture, the way he looked in the cartoon series. Then we have Morbius the Vampire. This is his initial appearance, the way he looked once he transformed. And he had the feature when you twist the legs, the face would change to human and back to the vampire. And then another version that came later on after the series that represents Venom. The classic elderly looking Vulture. In this form he partially showed up at the beginning, and then he was replaced with just a younger version of himself. And then the first version of Venom from the animated series. Another Dr. Octopus, except in a color variation. And I have one of the other Spider-Man clones here. Came in a box set. His name escapes me though. One of the few that I'm unable to remember the precise name of him. But there we go, he escaped too. So anyway, moving along, next to him we have Sandman, except this Sandman is just a repainted Hydra Man. So they just used the same figure to make another character. Sandman and Hydra Man are very similar in nature, is that one relies on the power of sand, the other one on the power of water. Then we have the Jackal, who came also in a box set. And we have the classic look of Kraven the Hunter. Electro, who did show up in one of the episodes of the Spider-Man. Then of course the leader of all the bad guys, Kingpin. He's only missing his walking stick. Then we have Scarecrow. And for Scorpion, I am not sure if I mentioned, but yes, he was just an ordinary thug that J. Jonah Jameson hired him to take part in an experiment which would enhance his powers, and he would humiliate and defeat Spider-Man in a live television coverage of a fight between them. Of course, once he did transform into Scorpion and got a costume, the transformation also caused them to partially go, or actually to fully to fully go aggressive mode, and he permanently remained Scorpion, physically enhanced, and he broke away from working with J. Jonah Jameson and almost killed him in the encounter, at least in the comics. But in the cartoon series, he just brushed aside working for JJ, and he became one of the newly created super criminals. Now at the back here, we have Typhoid Mary, who never appeared really in the Spider-Man series, but she's known as the enemy of Daredevil, who does show up in the cartoon series, so I just put her in there for that reason. Then we have one of the most unique and, in my opinion, most interesting versions of Venom. He's quite large in size and has multiple little Venom heads all around him and smaller looking arms attached on his main arms, and he comes from a series called Planet of the Symbiotes that covered only characters who had the symbiotes attached to them, so there were several of them, Venom being the main one. And this particular version of him came in 3 color variations. This is one of them. So there was also a fluorescent green and fluorescent yellow one out there. Now this is a larger figure of Hobgoblin, and he's again part of the projector toy line, where he can project small pictures from the animated series through his chest projector attached on his chest there. Now this strange looking version of Spider-Man is again part of the Arachnophobia line that I mentioned earlier, where Spider Lizard is part of it. And this fellow is called Spider Goblin. Well, due to a mutation, Green Goblin and Spider-Man got combined. So this is what emerged after that. What creature emerged. He's missing his cape, but he never came with any gliders, which is a pity. But that's pretty much how he looks. Somewhat a little bit smaller and skinnier than Spider Lizard. Then we have one of the alien creatures that was controlled by Alistair Snot in the animated series. Actually, his name should be Spider Slayer, but he looks like a robotic version of Alien from Alien movies. Then next to him, classic Rhino, and a more classic looking Sandman. Interestingly enough, he was not represented in his classic look in the animated series, and I'm not sure if he was represented at all, because I believe in the cartoon only the Hydro Man was present, but I could be wrong about that. Then we have another lizard, Professor Connor, who is in reality a good man and a scientist. He was only trying to find a cure for his arm that was amputated. And when he thought he found the serum to regrow his arm, he actually discovered later that that serum backfired because it wasn't tested properly, and he transformed into lizard. The problem with him was he was just trying to use the extract from the lizard to regrow his arm, but he was not aware of the nasty part of side effects, meaning that he would actually transform into one. And over here we have a version of Morbius as a fully transformed vampire. So he's very hulking in appearance, has a tail and wings, and more monstrous looking. Now we have Dormammu, who is the enemy of Doctor Strange, and he appeared in the Spider-Man series. And then we have Tombstone, another classic villain of Spider-Man. I attached a sort of a laser gun to him, and I'm not sure if that's the original part of him. And then we have Chameleon, and this is not really his classic look, but in the animated series he was portrayed that way. He has a completely white face, and he has the ability, using his belt, to transform into practically anyone. He was supposed to come with 2 more extra heads, or I believe 3, that are interchangeable with his. One being that of J. Jonah Jameson, and then Venom, and I believe Spider-Man himself, so that was a neat feature. And he also came with a small laser gun. So that would, sorry, there is one more there. That's the last one I missed on. That would be the Scarecrow. Or I may have mentioned him, he's only actually missing his pitchfork. I do not recall him being ever in Spider-Man cartoon, but he was released as part of the line at a later point. So yeah, that's pretty much all of them that I have. Sorry if the video was a bit shaky, I'm just trying to talk and maintain the camera balance at the same time. So I'll just give you guys one last glance at all of it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I do have only one last Toybiz themed video to show, and I'm saving that for another time. That I will show, where I will show the Marvel Universe 10-inch figures by Toybiz. That again dates back to the 90s decade. and I'll show you at least which characters I have. Of course, that line is also, I do not have it complete. I have only certain ones, but it's enough. And more about that in the next video. So that would be pretty much it for now, guys. I don't have anything else to add. If you guys have any particular questions about any of these figures, please let me know in the comments below. I do appreciate you guys taking time to take a look at this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So that's it for now. Until next time, bye.